So I'm currently in Sri Lanka, which is a wonderful Buddhist country. And unfortunately, the internet is not great. So if I do drop out, please just wait and I'll come back as soon as I can. And apologies for any connection troubles. My apologies also for only speaking in English. Thank you for your patience and for your willingness to come and listen to a talk in a different language to your own. I really appreciate that. And I understand for those people who don't understand English that there is going to be a translation available of this video later. So to those people, please thank your translator, Anna, for her hard work. So today, I want to talk about joy. So joy, gladness, happiness. And this is something that perhaps we don't usually think about when we think about Buddhism. Saying, oh, dukkha, the noble truth of suffering, the cause of suffering, the path that leads away from suffering, and this other truth, the third noble truth, that there is a cessation to suffering. This cessation of suffering, we're talking about happiness, freedom. So although sometimes Buddhism has this reputation, it's very depressing because we're so talking about suffering so much. This discussion about suffering of where to find happiness, where to find freedom from suffering. And so although we talk about suffering a lot, there's also a lot of joy and happiness to be found in the Buddhist path. This is something that we can discover in our meditation, but also outside of our meditation. So when I use this term joy, does everyone understand? One word in the Pali language is pamoja or pamuja. This means joy or gladness. And the Buddha gave many different methods to cultivate joy, gladness in daily life, but also in our meditation practice. For example, when we take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, this should bring some joy into our heart. Full qualities. When we reflect upon each of these qualities, joy appears in our mind. How wonderful this being discovered this path all by himself, and he taught it out of compassion. This should bring up an emotion in your heart of gladness. When we think about the Dhamma, the teachings of the Buddha, also this makes us feel joy. How wonderful for us that we have access to these teachings, which can help us come out of suffering. How fortunate am I? Or when we reflect upon something like the Sangha, the community of enlightened beings who have understood these teachings for themselves. This gives a lot of joy too. If other beings can find the path out of suffering towards freedom, then so can I. And to know that there are beings in the world of now and in the past and in the future who have understood these teachings, so much gladness and joy comes into the mind. Or when we reflect upon things like gave to charity, I supported a school. I gave to a homeless person. I bought my friend a present. When we think like this, then we feel happy in our heart. We feel joy. When we think about our moral conduct, our sila, this also brings a lot of joy out. Oh, how wonderful. Today I kept all my precepts. I didn't harm any beings. I didn't kill anything. I didn't steal anything. I'm a good person. Wonderful. So we have joy. So these are some ways that the Buddha invited us to develop this mind of joy in our daily life. This is important. Why? Because so much of our life has so much suffering in it. We've got to go to work. We've got problems with our colleague. We've got problems with the government, with society, all sorts of things. So much of our life is hard, heavy, suffering. And so that is the quality of our mind at a lot of the times. But if we can cultivate, develop this state of joy, then that's what's in our mind. Humans are pretty simple. Sometimes I think we could only have one thought at a time, And so if we consciously developing joy, then that's our mind state. And this is, in fact, the way the Buddha talked about this development of positive mind states through things like the activities we do in the world, generosity, kindness, good ethical conduct. When we come to sit in meditation, the stuff that we've done in the world, we bring that mind with us. And when we sit with that mind, we inspire ourselves, remembering, I was a good person. I gave generously today. It brings joy. We focus on that joy and we develop it. We make it bigger and bigger and bigger. We make it strong. We allow it to sink into our mind, to flood our mind with joy. And that joy is just the beginning of a series of mind states that get more and more beautiful, more and more happy, more and more blissful as we continue with our meditation. And so joy is like a very low-level form of happiness in Buddhist thinking. But for us, joy is also this amazing thing that we don't have enough of in our life. We want to develop more and more joy. Why? The more joy we have, the less suffering we have. The happier we are, the more we have let go of suffering. And so this is why joy is such an important stage of development in our life as a spiritual practitioner and in our life, in our meditation. So we need these opportunities to look for joy, right? We need to find joy wherever we can. And this is why the Buddha taught these different methods, gives us some different inroads, different opportunities, different places that we can access this mind of joy. And we're going to be exploring one of those later in our meditation. But before we do that, I want to just bring in a little bit about queer joy. So when I use this term queer, I'm talking about our big rainbow community of people who are gay, lesbian, bi, people who are trans, non-binary, gender diverse, people who are intersex and identify with the rainbow community, and people who are asexual. All of our rainbow community, I'm just using this word queer today to help us cut down on too many letters, LGBTQIA+. All of those letters, you probably have different letters in Polish. So queer joy is something I want to discuss a little bit about today. I already mentioned that, our life has a lot of suffering. It's hard to be a human, right? It's hard to be born in any state of being. And this includes the various realms, like the animal realm, ghost realm, heavenly realm, hell realms. Being born means that we're suffering. And as a human, there's a lot of suffering. And as a queer person, unfortunately, because of attitudes in society, religion, families, unfortunately, still today, being queer has its own particular suffering attached. Being queer is not a punishment, a karmic punishment. It's not. Being queer is not some sort of inherently suffering nature. We don't suffer because we are queer. We suffer because of society's attitudes towards queer people. So it's a really important distinction. So I just want to make that as clear as I can, because at certain times in our history, being queer just wasn't a problem. It wasn't something that was a source of suffering. And in some places now today, people grew up queer and they have no problems. It's easy for them to come out to their family. They're loved, they're accepted, they're great for those people. But for a lot of people of my generation, people of older generations, their experience of being queer was very different. And we know in different parts of the world, because of social attitudes, because of religious attitudes, that queer people share a kind of trauma that comes with being queer. This includes things like legal discrimination, where legislation is used to oppress queer people. And we know that many countries around the world outlaw, make it illegal to be queer. Some countries have the death penalty. And we know that our community shares trauma that comes from religious discrimination, religious prejudice. We know that our community around the world experiences social trauma, social discrimination. Things like not being able to share a hotel room with your partner, or not feeling safe to walk down the street with your partner. We experience family rejection sometimes, where our families can't accept who we are, or our friends can't accept who we are. So I don't need to catalogue all of the ways that we experience suffering as queer beings. I'm sure you have a good idea, right? And it's important to acknowledge that this exists. It's important to acknowledge also that there's a lot of joy in the queer community around the world. And this is one way that we deal with this ongoing trauma of prejudice, discrimination, oppression, violence, rejection. We deal with it by celebrating, by being joyful. And we see this so many places around the world through things like pride marches. In Sydney, where I'm from, we have the annual Mardi Gras celebration, which is a parade through the streets. Everyone dresses up. There's lots of glitter. There's lots of crazy costumes. There's lots of dancing and music, parties. And I know that in Poland, in the past, there has been some pride marches. And I think I remember reading also that sometimes the pride marches got cancelled, and which is terrible. But the fact is, we want to celebrate, right? We want to party. We want to be joyful. And one of the reasons for this is because of this oppression that we experience. And so this is like a reaction, a strategy, a resistance to oppression. Queers have often celebrated, and this is so important. They celebrate their sexuality, they celebrate their gender, they celebrate their identities. And we see this in so many different ways. And it's wonderful. It's a way of countering the heaviness and the horror of the discrimination and prejudice that we experience. If we're going to be depressed and rejected and experience prejudice and violence, and that's all there is, our life is really going to be very, very hard, very full of suffering. But because we're able to express ourselves, even just in small ways, such as being able to talk to friends in a chat on Facebook, or being able to share photos of ourselves dressed up, or in bigger ways, like going to a party with your friends, or being able to meditate with other queer Buddhists, whatever it is, we find a way. Humans find a way. Queer people find a way to express themselves, and that brings some happiness and joy into their hearts, because it feels so good to be yourself, to celebrate yourself. And I just want to say you're all such wonderful people, you know, and I just have such a good feeling towards you as queer Buddhists. And I celebrate this connection of your spirituality and your queer identity. And this is a wonderful thing that we can do together, coming together like this in a safe place where we can be sure that we're going to have a friendly attitude towards us, where we can be sure that we're going to be taken care of and nourished and loved for who we are. So this is something that we can celebrate together. And so this is kind of like a low-key kind of queer Buddhist party, right? What we're doing now. It's just very, very spiritual, very calm, but it's a celebration of who we are. We don't always need to be partying and dressing up, and a lot of queer people don't feel like that's for them. But we celebrate in the ways that matter to us. And in doing this, we're developing some joy. And it's a particular kind of joy. It's a queer joy. It's a joy, a gladness in being queer, celebrating those parts of ourselves. And there's something else that happens when we see our community enjoying themselves, right? When you see photos online of pride events around the world, you feel some joy in your own heart, right? How wonderful for them that they're having a great time and that they're free to do this. When you see an article about how marriage equality has been passed in a country, you get this joy. Oh, how wonderful. My community in that country, they've gained this new freedom. And so this is another way that we experience joy, the joy of others. Another way that I can see it is when I see some photos of my friends who they practice drag performance. You know, they have this side of themselves that they want to express. They dress up, they put on some makeup, and they go out and they express themselves. And when I see this, I feel so much happiness for them when they're able to do this. And when I saw just recently that there was the World Cup in Australia, the Women's World Cup soccer, and there was a lot of athletes there who were queer, who were lesbian, you know, and how wonderful they got to express so much of themselves in a place where they could be themselves, play their sport, and they were free to be themselves. I thought that was just so wonderful. So these are some ways that we bring joy into our heart through this queer connection that we have with others. In that moment, we're not thinking about ourselves. We're thinking about them and their happiness. And their happiness affects us, makes us feel good, brings joy to our heart. And so this kind of joy, this sympathetic joy, this is the thing known as Mudita in Buddhism. Mudita. Mudita is one of the 4 Brhamaviharas, the 4 divine abodes, the 4 apamanyas, the immeasurable states. So for those who haven't heard this term before, I'll just very quickly go through each of these states. And then after that, we'll actually do some practice, meditation practice on Mudita. So there's these 4 Brhamaviharas, the divine abodes, the abodes of Brahma. And this is a kind of being that the Buddha talked about as experiencing these beautiful mind states. They dwell in these mind states. In the sutras, they're more commonly known as the apamanyas. Apamanya means boundless, without any borders, limitless, immeasurable. And this is the kind of thing that we can develop in our own minds. So at this time, perhaps our mind is limited to this body, but when we practice in this way, we develop a mind that is bigger than ourselves, a mind that can fill the entire universe. So one of the ways that we do this is through the practice of the first Brahmavihara, loving kindness, metta. And so this is love, kindness, friendliness towards other living beings. This is a beautiful mind state, and we practice it in a way that radiates love to all beings everywhere. And if you're interested in a queer pride metta meditation, then you can look on the Rainbodhi YouTube channel, and you'll see this is something that we've done a few times, this beautiful queer pride meditation, where we develop a state of love towards our queer friends and our siblings around the world. And then we expand this love towards all living beings, including, you know, those really annoying people who don't support queers. We develop love for all beings everywhere, not just on Earth, but throughout the universe. And so this is a way that we develop a mind that is immeasurable, boundless. Or when we do meditations like that, we don't limit it just to ourselves or to the people we like and love or know. We develop it for all living beings everywhere. This is why it's immeasurable. This is why it's boundless. It's not limited in any way. So that's the first of the Brhamaviharas. Metta, love, kindness, loving kindness, as it's often called. The second is karuna, compassion. And this is what I spoke about last time when I met with Rainbodhi Poland. And I gave a queer compassion meditation, which you can find on our YouTube channel as well, where we developed a state of compassion for our queer siblings around the world. We also developed a mind of compassion for those who harm others, people who don't support queer people or oppress or are prejudiced against queer people. Even those people we gave our compassion to, because this is a mind state that is big and beautiful, just like love. Love and compassion will always overwhelm hate and ill will. And so these mind states, we develop them and we spread this love and compassion to all living beings everywhere. So then the third is altruistic joy. Altruistic means, we care about others. So this is a joy in others. We also have words like empathetic joy. So this is based on empathy. We put ourselves in the place of another person. We have empathy for them. Joy, like we have a concern for this person. Our joy is because we're concerned. We see joy and we rejoice in it. It's like a kind of response to others, rejoicing. And then the last of the Brhamaviharas, the fourth Brhmavihara, is upekkha. And this means equanimity. Equanimity is something we have when we develop our mind to a certain stage and we are very even-minded. We no longer have this idea of suffering or happiness. We are just watching. We just see, and the mind is very stable and very steady. And so this kind of mind, we shouldn't confuse it for something like just disinterest or tuning out or not caring, being blank. This isn't equanimity. I don't have time to talk too much about that today, but equanimity is a very profound mind state. And it's what we use when, we don't have any capacity for love, perhaps, or we don't have any compassion or any opportunity for joy. It's when we can't do anything, when we're just watching, when we're faced with suffering, for example, and there's nothing we can do, we have equanimity. But I'll talk about that another time, perhaps. So all of these different mind states, karuna, compassion, mudita, sympathetic joy, and equanimity, need to come from somewhere in order for us to develop them, right? We can't just flick a switch and turn on love. We need to somehow work in a way that brings love and kindness up and quite naturally, right? Like when you see up, so nice, right? You feel this incredible rush of good feelings within you. Or perhaps you might experience compassion, karuna, when you see there is suffering, like a dog that is sick and living on the street and is skinny and all its hair is falling out. And then compassion appears in the mind. I wish that they could be free from suffering. See other people succeeding. More about that in a second. But I want to just go back and tell you these verbal prompts that we can use in our meditation. So when we practice love, loving kindness, metta, the verbal prompt that we usually use is, may I be happy, may I be happy, may I be happy. May they be happy, may they be happy. May all living beings be happy. This is a way that we incline our mind towards love, towards loving kindness. This is a way that we kind of fake it until we make it. This is a way that we spark love in our mind. When it comes to compassion, we say, may they be free from suffering. May I be free from suffering. May they be free from suffering. May all beings be free from suffering. And this brings up that beautiful feeling of compassion in your heart. And for Mudita, the practice that we're doing today, we say, may I not be separated from the things I had gained. May others not be separated from the things they had gained. And so this is the way that we practice Mudita. We're thinking about the things that other people have got, and we're happy for them. And the last one, equanimity, upekkha. This is a bit more complicated, and this verbal prompt is an analysis of karma. So it's like all beings are subject to karma. I am related to my karma. I'm born of my karma. Whatever karma I do, whatever actions, intentional actions I do, whether good or bad, I will experience the results. So this is a bit more complicated, right? But this is a way that we just, okay, right, life is hard, there's suffering, there's good and bad, there's happiness and unhappiness, and this is a result of karma. And when we practice in this way, we're just understanding a very basic principle that is fundamental in Buddhism, that actions have consequences. And sometimes we see this in our life, and there's nothing we can do. We just have to bring it back down to, okay, these beings are just experiencing the results of their karma. And this knowledge too, whatever actions I do, I will experience results. And therefore, we should really think carefully about what kind of actions we do. So these are the four kind of prompts, verbal prompts that we use in our meditation. They're not the only way to bring up these feelings within us. So for example, with something like love, looking at puppies is wonderful. Having a cat on your lap, perfect opportunity. Thinking about friends and family, bring up love, So there's many different ways to do this. And whatever method works for you is good. So today, I wanted us to explore Mudita, empathetic joy, altruistic joy, joy in other people's happiness. And so for this meditation, we remind ourselves of the things that other people have gained, things have come to them. And we hope that they won't lose those things. So this is about other people's happiness. We are happy that other people are happy. We are happy when people succeed. We are happy when our friends get a job. Ah, how wonderful for you. You got a new job. Great. We are happy when our friends win the lottery. Oh, it's great. When someone finds a partner. Oh, how that's so nice. You know, they've got someone they care about and loves them. So this kind of practice requires us to really make sure that we don't have any jealousy in our mind. We don't get upset that someone else had something good happen to them. When someone wins the lottery, we don't go, damn them, that money. You know, we don't think like our friends get a new job than me. No, we just celebrate. And so this practice of not only does it bring up a lot of joy, but it deals with the defilement of wanting things that others care about. That all we care about is that they got something good, and that makes us happy too. In a way, this is like a kind of cheap form of happiness for us. If we don't have any happiness in our life, we just look around us, we see that so many other people do. And when we think about their happiness and we're glad for them, when we're happy for them, then we borrow their joy, we borrow their happiness, and we allow that happiness to grow in our own mind. And so this is wonderful. If you're not feeling great, you know, think about other people's good fortune. Sometimes it can bring up a lot of joy in your heart. So there's many different things that other people get in life, right? There's, you know, people get new jobs, new homes, they get a raise, they win the lottery, they get a nice new haircut. So there's going to be different levels of the types of joy that people experience, right? So for us as spiritual practitioners, maybe we don't really celebrate someone's haircut, you know? Maybe we think about things that are a bit more deep, a bit more profound. Like it could be something like, you know, oh, how wonderful they're practicing a spiritual path. How wonderful they're practicing meditation. You know, this is something that's really nice. But there's so many different types of joy. And the one that I wanted to use today as part of our clear Buddhist practice is to rejoice in the human rights that our communities have gained around the world, to rejoice in the freedom that our communities have in certain places. So if we remember in our compassion meditation, we remembered the suffering of our community in different places. We remembered the suffering. In this meditation, it's different. We're focusing on the gains, the joys that our community has. So I hope you can see, you can understand that this is a different kind of practice, but it leads to a joy in your mind that we borrow from others. And what this does is it breaks down the difference between us and others. So if in Poland you don't have the right to marry your partner, it's terrible. I'm really sorry about that. But as a spiritual practitioner, as a queer person, you can celebrate that other people in other places have this right to marry. So you can see that it's not about you, it's about others. But their happiness is your happiness too. When you are happy for them, you experience happiness. It's a win that to develop. It means that whatever situation you're in yourself, there's always an opportunity for you to tune in to other people's happiness and to allow that to inspire joy in your mind, happiness in your as our own nice thing to have access to. You'll always see that there's someone happy out there in the world, right? So you'll always have an opportunity to practice in this way. So that's a long introduction. Thank you for your attention and for listening. So now we're going to do some Mudita meditation. We're going to spend some time just chilling out, relaxing, getting comfortable, becoming quiet. And then I'll guide the practice. We'll start by thinking about other people's happiness with the queer community, the gains they've had, and in an immeasurable way, we'll practice the Brhmavihara of Mudita. So let's find a comfortable posture for our meditation practice. So this is something that works for you. You might be sitting on the floor, sitting in the chair. Try not to be too relaxed, too sloppy. Allow your back to be straight. Feel like you can relax, but yet remain aware. So close your eyes. And allow your body to relax. So spend a few moments just becoming calm, just becoming peaceful, quiet, allowing the body to soften and relax. Allowing your mind to relax too, to become quiet and peaceful. And now that our mind is a little bit more calm, peaceful, we'll begin our practice of mudita, of rejoicing. You can begin by developing some gratitude for all the things that you have gained in your life. Some gratitude, how fortunate you are to have so many things. Shelter, to have clothes, to have a little bit of money, to have friends, to have how fortunate to hear the Buddha's well, community of queer Buddhists to explore the teachings together. You have so many good things in your life. So many good things that you have gained. How wonderful for you. I hope you will never be so. And just like you, all living beings everywhere, all living beings have gains. They get might be a new job, they might finish their education, get a new house, a new car, emigrate to a country they love, go on holiday. So many things that people get. So many gains that they have. just like you, they don't want to be separated from their gains. And so we wish them well. May they enjoy what they have. May they enjoy what they have. May they never be separated from the things that they enjoy. May they never be separated from the things they have gained. Their happiness is my happiness too. Their joy I share with them. Experiencing their joy, I rejoice, and my mind is full of joy. To think about someone you like, someone you love. Think about a time when they got something good, something. Think about that time. Remember their joy, their happiness. You feel jealous. You rejoice in their happiness. You felt joy for them in your mind. And now that joy comes back to you. How wonderful for them to have gotten something they needed, something they wanted. How wonderful. They were happy. Smile in your mind. Their happiness is your happiness. Their joy, your joy. We rejoice, multiplying the joy, increasing the happiness. special feeling in your heart, joy in other people's happiness, joy in your mind. Feels good, light, spacious. This beautiful joy, beautiful happiness in your heart. If you can feel an emotion, develop this joy, make it stronger, make it larger, drench yourself in joy. Feel it flooding the mind, flooding the body. May they never be separated from what they have gained. May I rejoice in what they have gained. I'm thinking now of our community of queer family all around the world. So many places now where our queer siblings have gained so much, where they have freedom, freedom to love, freedom to be recognized, freedom to marry, freedom to choose their gender, to change their names, to be who they are. Allow yourself to feel joy that people just like you and me, people just like others on this call, people from our community have gained, have gotten something that makes them happy. Remember the celebrations you see on television of people so happy when marriage equality happens. People so happy at pride marches. Celebrating their gender, sexuality. How wonderful that they have this freedom to be themselves, to be happy, to experience joy. Their happiness is my happiness too. Their joy is my joy. I share it with them. There's no separation between me and them. There is only joy. Joy that is beautiful, rich, expansive. A joy that can be developed, grown, multiplied. May more queers, wherever they are, get what they need, what they want. May they experience joy as well. We rejoice in the gains that all people, all beings, everywhere, whoever they are, wherever they are, whatever they have that makes them happy, may they not be separated from that. May they have things that bring them joy, do things that make them happy. Their happiness is my happiness. Their joy is my joy. I rejoice at the happiness of others. By rejoicing like this, my heart is flooded with happiness, this joy, multiplying the happiness of others is immeasurable. This joy is boundless. I rejoice in every being's happiness. Now we're coming towards the end of this meditation. Before we finish, just take a few moments to review what happened. Was it easy to feel joy for others? Was it challenging? Did you see some jealousy in your mind? Did you feel a little bit of covetousness, wanting what they had? Or was there some moments where you felt good, reflecting on the joys of others, what they had gained? Did you get a feeling of joy in your mind? How was that? Were you able to grow it, to make it bigger? So reflecting in this way, we understand the process of meditation better. We understand how to create joy in our mind based on the happiness of others. Okay, very good. So please take a few moments to come back to this space, and you're ready, opening the eyes. And so this is the practice of Mudita. So today, I talked a little bit about the importance of joy in our spiritual practice. We have so much suffering in our life, right? So we should use the tools that the Buddha has provided in his teachings that teach us how to develop minds of joy, where to look for joy in our lives, how to cultivate that joy in daily life, and how to cultivate it in our meditation practice. The more we incline our mind towards joy, the more familiar we become with it. The more familiar we are with joy, the easier it is for it to appear in our mind. We know what it feels like. We know how to develop it. The more we develop joy, the less suffering we have. When we have a joyful mind, we've let go of a lot of suffering. And so in this way, we're moving away from suffering. We're moving towards happiness. This is the path that helps us eradicate suffering. The Buddha's path is a joyful path. It's a path that makes our mind familiar with positive states of mind that are beautiful, that are blissful, that are full of happiness. And this is why it's so fortunate that you have encountered the Buddha's teachings. So wonderful. It brings me so much joy to see you here in Rainbodhi, Poland. And I just want to celebrate your goodness and practice. And thank you for your attention and for your practice today. So we've got some time for some questions. If you like, we can turn the recording off and we can speak more freely. And so once again, thank you to the organizers for inviting me here today. And I look forward to being with you again soon.